Hi everyone, welcome back to Hands-Free Studying for the MBE, brought to you by Brainscape. These upcoming questions are related to contract law UCC performance concepts. Let's get started. Question 1. What is a seller's obligation under the UCC? A seller is obligated to transfer and deliver the goods sold. Question 2. What are carrier cases? Carrier cases are when the parties to a contract agree to use a specified common carrier, a transporter, to deliver the goods. Question 3. When does the risk of loss transfer from the seller to the buyer in 1. Shipment contracts and then 2. In destination contracts? For shipment contracts, the risk of loss is transferred to the buyer once the seller delivers goods to the common carrier. So once UPS gets the goods, then the buyer bears the risk of loss. For destination contracts, however, the risk of loss is only transferred to the buyer when the goods are delivered at the buyer's destination. Question 4. What does FOB, seller's place of business, mean? This means that it's a shipment contract, meaning that the risk of loss passes to the buyer once the seller delivers goods to the common carrier and arranges for their shipment. Question 5. What does FOB, buyer's place of business, mean? This means that it's a destination contract, meaning that the risk of loss passes to the buyer after the goods are tendered at the destination point. Question 6. What are non-carrier cases? Non-carrier cases are when the parties do not agree to use a common carrier to deliver the goods. Question 7. In non-carrier cases, who bears the risk of loss? The answer hinges on whether the seller is a merchant. So if the seller is not a merchant, then the risk of loss passes to the buyer upon tender of delivery. Now, only tender of delivery is required, not actual receipt by the buyer. However, if the seller is a merchant, then the risk of loss passes to the buyer only when the buyer physically takes possession of the goods. Now remember that risk of loss can also be specified in the contract or borne by the breaching party if there is a breach. Question 8. When can a party request an assurance of performance? A party can request an assurance of performance if anticipatory repudiation cannot be established, but there are some reasonable grounds for insecurity. Question 9. When can a party suspend performance after failing to receive adequate assurances? Under UCC 2-209, a party can suspend performances if the other party doesn't respond to the demand within a reasonable time, which is 30 days under the UCC, or they don't respond in a way that provides reasonable assurances. Lastly, question 10. What is the perfect tender rule? The perfect tender rule requires absolute perfect tender of goods as specified in the contract. The perfect tender rule does not apply to installment contracts or when the parties agree otherwise. And that's the end of your 10 flashcard study round. To reach full mastery, remember to study in Brainscape. Our mobile and web app uses the latest in spaced repetition techniques, allowing you to optimize your study time and track your progress down to the finest detail. But of course, when you're driving, cooking, exercising, or otherwise unable to navigate the app, be sure to keep listening to the rest of this hands-free studying playlist. No matter what subject you're learning and what method you're studying it, Brainscape helps you rise to your challenge.